Welcome to this week's Grassroots to Greatness podcast. Today we're going to be discussing something brand new to coaching, 3v3s at under sevens, the impact it's going to make, the positives, the challenges, and we're going to go through everything in this podcast because it's something that's really been something that coaches have been talking about recently. So we're going to kind of go through why it's important, why the governing bodies are implementing this, the benefits to it, how as a coach you can start adapting your coaching around it, as well as what might the challenges be for clubs and coaches as well. So let's jump straight into it. Under sevens will be moving to 3v3 from the 2026 season. Okay, so not September coming up, but September next year. This has been something that the FA have been looking at for a while. Other countries have already adopted this, whether they're 2v2, 3v3, but they're making the game smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, during this, so first of all, a lot of the questions I've had on TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, etc. have been, well, how is it going to work? You might only have 4 players in a squad, then you're going to need more coaches and there's not enough space, etc. Right, it's not been clarified how it's going to work yet. My opinion on how it will work is you will still have squads of 8, 9 or 10, but you will always have multiple pitches set up for your match days. So a pitch is maybe 20 by 30 yards maximum, probably smaller than that to be honest, probably 15 by 20, 15 by 25. And you'll be using mini goals. So no, there won't be goalkeepers. Most of the teams we've played this year under sevens don't have a goalkeeper. And from my experiences in coaching, players that start in goal at sevens don't always end up staying in goal anyway. So we rotate our goalkeeper, but I don't really see a huge need for goalkeepers at this age anyway. So I think the idea will be there'll be a pitch here and then another pitch next to it with mini goals, and then it'll be a 3v3 and quite free flowing on those pitches. Now, the next thing is, well, we haven't got enough coaches. The idea from this, I believe, is to take the ownership away from the coaches and put the ownership on the players. So if I was coaching and I was by myself, I would stand between both pitches and watch and then give bits of advice. Most teams will have an assistant coach, so you can just take a pitch each, and then what should happen is they'll swap round. So these 3 players will then go and play against these 3, etc., etc. This will lead to a lot more ownership from the players. And ultimately, what I believe the reason they're trying to do this and why governing bodies are trying to do it are more touches on the football, more dribbling, more decisions, and every player will be involved at all times. Now, if you watch under sevens football now, it's normally dominated by players that are physically strong, especially when you play on bigger pitches at 5v5. So this will allow all players to get more touches on the ball. In our training sessions, we do 2v2, 3v3 anyway. So during that, players get more touches. Then when they get more touches, they'll start to use both feet more. They'll try more dribbling moves. They'll try to get more shots. They'll get more opportunities to pass. They are going to get more opportunities to engage with the football and practice a technique or a skill. That is what they need at this age. They need to be on the ball. The winning, losing part don't matter. The scores, keeping scores, yeah, that's going to go completely out the window and be hard work. Now, it might be, all right, this pitch was 15-2 or that pitch was 13-all. Keeping track of that and adding that together is going to be a challenge. Leagues do need to do it because a lot of leagues will restructure every kind of 6 weeks or so you start playing against teams that you're more balanced with competitively. So that is one challenge that's definitely going to come up from my perspective. The big thing, I'm massive on 1v1. Anyone that's seen my sessions or watched me coach or talk to me, 1v1 at this age is huge. We do at least a quarter of our sessions, if not a third, on 1v1 every single week. That's what they need to learn and develop, and there'll be more opportunities to do this in the 3v3 format. The last thing I've got on my notes here as well, it's going to allow players to be creative. It's giving them a bit more freedom to encourage them to have a go at things. Now, this can be difficult for coaches because they want to be in control of everything that's going on, when actually it's about letting go of control and letting players experiment and have a go at things, especially at this age. Encourage them to dribble, encourage them to be creative. And if you go to most of the top academies in the world, if they had 7-year-olds, I think what you'll see is 1v1s, dribbling, ball manipulation. That's what they want for the youngest players at this age. That's what they need to develop. They don't overly need to develop tactical understanding. What they need to do is get on the ball, spend time with the ball and master the ball. So that is why I think it will be a massively beneficial change for the technical ability of players, as well as giving them some ownership and leadership. Now, a challenge with that, especially when you now play teams who are a lot stronger than you before leagues balance out, there could be some real kind of wallopings for teams here. So if you're 5v5 and then you can go up to a kind of 6v6, 6v5, 7v5 if you're losing heavily, it's going to be harder to do that in a 3v3. And actually, if you're playing against players that are very powerful and very good 1v1, they could dominate it even more. And you could see some teams taking a real hiding unless leagues balance it outright. So it's not all sunshine and roses. There's going to be a lot of challenges with this. Another challenge that actually came up on our TikTok was referees. So instead of needing one referee at 5v5, you're now going to need two if you've got two pitches. I see two sides of this argument. The cost of referees is obviously going to be a factor in this, but we at the club that I work at, we just use a lot of the youngsters to referee, and they're brilliant, to be fair to them. Realistically, you shouldn't need referees at under sevens. You shouldn't. Like, even in academy football at 9s, 10s, half the time you don't have a referee. So you should be able to referee it from the side. The coaches should just be able to referee it. Let's talk about the realities of grassroots football. That's not that easy, because there are some coaches who win, and it will then cause arguments and disagreements on the touchline, which then can cause safeguarding issues and not create a good environment. So it is difficult. If you get coaches that are very laid back and chilled out and can referee the game from the side, brilliant. That then goes back to, if you've only got one coach refereeing two pitches, it's a difficulty. So that is going to be a barrier and something that needs to be considered. Another one of the barriers that's come up is the availability of pitches. And my point of view at this at first was pitches are not an issue, because on one 5-a-side pitch you easily fit two 3v3 games. You just play a cross with your two mini goals, cone it out. What's been interesting for me, and it'd be great if actually we can get more comments on this, because obviously I live down south, a lot of people who live up north said there just aren't the pitches. And I suppose if it's a bit wetter up there as well, unless you've got a 3G pitch around every corner, the grass pitches are going to struggle. So down here, down south, I think we've got enough to deal with it. What I didn't consider in this argument was, it's not the 3v3 pitches that are an issue, it's the fact that we now have one extra year of them 5v5, and it's having enough small pitches for the extra year of 5v5 if the 3v3 pitches are already on a 5v5 or 7v7 pitch. So it does create the issue for facilities with that. My point on this, we've got to get a lot better at, on 3G pitches, just cone out. You can fit 8 5-a-side pitches on a full-size 3G quite easily. You can probably fit 6 small 7-a-sides on it. You can definitely fit 4 7-a-sides on it, and 2 9s. But we've got to get a bit better at, when we build 3G pitches or grass pitches, you have a white 9-a-side pitch, for example, and then you have 2 5-a-side pitches in blue in the middle of it. We've got to be a bit more creative with that, and also, if there's no pitches, just use some cones. Like, if leagues don't allow that, I don't understand it. Like, because actually, do you need a marked out pitch for a 3v3 or a 5v5? No, you don't. Just put some cones out, get some samba goals, put some flat discs down for a penalty area. There you go. Just give guidelines on league size, because we see a massive variation in size, which there are guidelines, but it's probably not communicated well enough of how big or small pitches can be. So it's not all perfect, but it will be better for player development, but it's going to be a bit more difficult for coaches and the structure of it. The other thing then is the cost of coaching courses go up and up. Level 1 now is all online, which is great for accessibility, but not good for the quality of coaching. So most people's now first interaction with face-to-face coaching is UEFA C, which is now very expensive, takes a lot of time. So I think there'll probably be less coaches moving on to that. And we're going to have more coaches that have just done a level 1 online. So I think there could be some issues with the quality of coaching and getting the messages across then of what 3v3 is about. Now, in terms of 3v3 and how you can implement it, there's a couple of things I've got down here. One is just do it in training. And ultimately, to be successful in 3v3, you need to do loads of 1v1s, because players need to be good 1v1. and using different variations of 1v1. So when you're training, build it up 1v1, 2v2, 3v3. But focus on it a lot in training. You don't need to do 5-a-side, 6-a-side, 7-a-side in training. It should be smaller groups, especially at the younger ages, because they get used to playing in small groups and making the combinations that they can, as well as dribbling when they're 1v1. And then use different variations of everything still. So do 2v1, 3v2 games, stuff like that. So they're learning to play overloaded, underloaded, because those are the situations they're going to face. You don't want to be doing it 6 versus 7. Just do it in small numbers all the time in training, because again, more touches, more decisions, more passes, more dribbles, more shots. That's what players need. And then you are going to be able to manage the game less, especially coaches that, I call it PlayStation coach, where they go, right, pass, dribble, do this, do this, do this. You're not going to be able to keep an eye on all the players at once. If you have a coach on each pitch, you might be able to. But the danger then is you micromanage the players even more. You've got to just let the players make decisions. Now, I'm not this end of the scale where it's like, just let them get on with it, don't say anything. But I'm also not here where it's tell them, tell them, tell them. I think you've got to be somewhere in the middle, going towards this or towards that, depending on what the game's like or what they're learning or what you're doing in training. So, for example, we had a game at the weekend, which we were quite comfortable in. So after 5 minutes, I was like, right, to the other coaches, we don't say a word for 5 minutes. We can't say anything for 5 minutes. But then we have had games this season where we're a little bit slow, we're a little bit not switched on. And in my opinion, even though they're 7 at that point, they just needed a couple of minutes of help. And that's not me shouting and screaming instructions at them. It was when they got the ball, it's like saying things like, trust yourself, try to do things quickly. So I'm not taking their decisions away from them, but I'm giving them a little bit of a command to just speed them up and snap them into it a little bit more. And it's deciding as a coach what you need to do at what times and what moments. So we've gone through some of the challenges. The other big challenge is going to be educating parents. Parents and coaches would like to see 11v11 because they understand that. They understand that part of the game, and they struggle to see how it breaks down to 9v9, 5v5, 7v7, and now 3v3. But what we're breaking it down to is opportunities to develop technical skills. And it's educating parents on that. They're going to get more opportunities to carry out technical skills, to make more decisions. So when they get to the 11-a-side game or 9-a-side, where we start to actually focus quite a lot tactically, they've got the technical ability to be able to carry out the tactical outcomes that you want. But educating parents on this is going to be a little bit difficult, but it's about conversations, telling them why it's beneficial, etc. If coaches come into it with a really negative mindset of, oh, it's rubbish, we shouldn't be doing it, that's then going to cause problems and knock-ons. The other thing in terms from a funding and a pitch perspective is if they are going to use small goals, they are expensive. And now clubs are going to need loads of them. So I think per team, you're going to need at least 4 goals, maybe 5 if you want to spare one. The bazooka goals are 100 quid each. The mini samba goals, I'm not sure, but I can imagine they're not much different from that. So when you're looking at 400, 500, 600 quid of goals per team, that is a heavy investment when you consider a samba goal, 7-a-side samba goal and 5-a-side samba goals are maybe 100 quid each, and they can be shared amongst loads of age groups and loads of teams. So that is going to be potentially an issue for clubs. So in terms of takeaways, it's going to be better for player development. There's going to be challenges for the clubs in running it. And as coaches, you've got to get comfortable with just letting players take ownership and giving them opportunities to pass, dribble, shoot. We also have loads of sessions on the Coaches Club, on the TSC Coaches Club, on all our channels and Patreon, which are 1v1, 2v2, 3v3 focused. There's loads of stuff on there that's 4v4, 5v5 as well that can be done 3v3. So go on our website or any of our social media channels and go through a load of those sessions. And over the next year, in the build up to 3v3 launching, we will be doing some stuff on that. We're probably doing a little one-off course, as well as putting some resources together for that. If you want to register your interest in it, just comment on this, whatever you're watching this on or listening to, add a comment on it with your name and we'll add you to a list to make sure we get some information out to you when that comes up. But let's see how it goes. Let's go at it with a positive mindset, because it will be better for player development, and let's just take the challenges as they come and help improve our players. I'll see you next week.